Welcome to GDs. And this is The Last Kingdom Season 1. Season starts with Danes arriving at the shores of Northumbria. And they're heading up the river. Lord Uhtred of Bebbanburg sends his elder son to keep an eye on the Danes and instructs him not to fight. While his younger son gets to know from Father Beocca that they will be fighting with the other two kings of the north. Despite his father's instruction, the elder son of Lord Uhtred fights with Danes and is killed. Lord Uhtred lets his younger son know that they used to be kings of these lands. And they will be again. And now he is the new heir of Bebbanburg. And will be known as Uhtred. And Father Beocca baptize him. And he becomes Uhtred, son of Uhtred and the heir of Bebbanburg. Lord Uhtred leaves few of his soldiers with his brother. And wants him to keep his son safe as he goes for battle. Young Uhtred, getting to know that his father has left him behind, wants to join him in battle. And escapes the castle and follows him. While his uncle sends one of his loyal soldiers after him. And instructs him to take out the boy, if his father falls in the battle. On the other hand, Danes are also ready for battle. With their leader Ubba being joined by Ragnar. On the day of the battle, Danes are able to lure the Saxon, trap them and defeat them. Lord Uhtred also falls in the battle. Young Uhtred tries to fight with him. But he is knocked out. Danes have won the battle. And Ragnar keeps young Uhtred and a young girl Brita as slaves. As time passes, Uhtred and Brita are playing with Ragnar's daughter. And Sven shows up. He is the son of Ragnar's shipmaster Kjartan. Uhtred and Brita, afraid for their life, run away. But return back, in order to save the honor of Ragnar's daughter. Ragnar, getting to know what has happened with his daughter, goes to his men and takes one eye of his boy. And lets him know that he is banished from his land. Kjartan being banished from the land. And in order to take his revenge, goes to Uhtred's uncle, and lets him know that his nephew is still alive. Getting to know this, he wants his nephew back. And offers to pay a ransom to the Danes. Father Beocca wants Uhtred to escape and go to Wessex. And lets him know that he will be there. They are finally able to reach an agreement. But Ragnar pays more to Ubba. And keeps the boy for himself. And on their way back he lets Uhtred know that from now on, he will be known as Uhtred, son of Ragnar. And as time passes, Uhtred and Brita have now grown up. And Ragnar's daughter is about to get married. Uhtred and Brita being close makeout for the first time. On the other hand, as their family sleeps, they're surrounded by Kjartan and his men. And they attack them and burn their settlement. Uhtred and Brita are unable to save anyone. And they are also unaware that Ragnar's daughter has been captured. Uhtred, seeing one of his uncle's men, is sure that he is also partnered up with Kjartan. And he takes him out. Brita wants to wait for young Ragnar, Ragnar's biological son. But Uhtred doesn't want to wait. And goes to his uncle, and lets him know that Bebbanburg is his. And he will take it back. Uhtred and Brita come up with a plan. That they will go to Ubba. And let him know about the betrayal of Kjartan and his uncle. And with the help of his army, they will defeat him. But on their way to Ubba, they get to know that the word has spread, that Ragnar was killed by a Saxon slave, Uhtred. Uhtred and Brita, in order to have some security, captures Ubba's seer story. So that Uhtred could have some leverage. Uhtred is able to reach Ubba. And tells him the truth about Ragnar. But Ubba does not believe him, and wants to kill him. It is when Uhtred leverages story. In order to get out alive. Which makes Ubba even more angry. As Uhtred returns, he finds a branch in story. And it was put in by Brita, as she got upset by something story said. And they let him go. With Ubba not believing them. They decide to hide out in a small town. And Uhtred gets his long sword made. With a reminder of his heritage. But they are not safe there. As both his uncle's men, as well as Danes, have been looking for them. So they decide to go to Wessex, the last Saxon kingdom. And in Wessex, with the help of Father Beocca, they meet Alfred, brother of the king. As Alfred and Uhtred talk, Uhtred gets to know that Kjartan has profited greatly from Ragnar's death. And he now has a stronghold in the north. Alfred also lets Uhtred know that he has a dream of a united England, with all the kingdoms under one king and one god. Alfred doesn't trust Uhtred, and lets him know that he can stay in Wessex only because of Father Beocca's trust in him. Uhtred, getting to know from Father Beocca that an army of Danes under Earl Guthrum is assembling near Wessex. and they believe an attack to happen next spring. And Uhtred, in order to know the reality, goes to check out the Danish camp. Uhtred returns to Wessex, and in the council with the king, he lets them know that they won't be waiting for spring, and will be attacking soon. And Uhtred suggests them a counter-strategy, and wants them to meet the Danish army on their way. Young Otta in the council does not trust Uhtred, and thinks it might be a trap. Alfred wants to go ahead with the plan, and in order to stay safe they imprison Uhtred and Breda. And before they leave for the battle, the king wants Otta to know that in case he falls in battle, it is his brother who will be the next king, and not his son, as he is a drunkard fool. With Uhtred's strategy of meeting the Danish army on the way, the Saxons were able to defeat them, and they have a great victory. But unfortunately, the king falls in battle, and Alfred is now the new king of Wessex. Uhtred lets the king know that he wants to be known as a lord, and King Alfred lets him know that for now, he can only be called a lord if he has some land, and he can have it if he agrees to marry a lord's daughter. But Uhtred doesn't want to get married for the moment. On the other hand, though Guthrum is defeated, he is joined by Ubba and his army, and Alfred does not want to have another war. So he decides to negotiate, and wants Uhtred to be present at the negotiations. And in a hard negotiation, the Danes finally agreed to return, in exchange for some silver. And Alfred, understanding the importance of having someone who knows the Danes' way, wants Uhtred to pledge 1 year of service to him. In exchange he assures him that in time, he will get him the title of the Lord of Bebbanburg. And Uhtred agrees. It is when young Ragnar shows up. Uhtred and Breda let him know that it was indeed Kjartan who killed their family. And Breda decides to join Ragnar and leave, while Uhtred remains in the Wessex, as he has pledged 1 year of service to the king. But lets Ragnar know that when the time is right, they will avenge their father together. With Breda gone, King Alfred brings up the offer of marriage again to Uhtred, in order for him to be known as a lord. And Uhtred agrees this time. Uhtred is mesmerized by the beauty of Otta's granddaughter, and they get married. On their way back with his wife to his new home, Uhtred was able to put 1 and 1 together, and was able to learn that now he owes a huge sum to the church, as it was a previous burden from the land. Though he is a bit angry with his wife, but he knows that it was King Alfred who tricked him. And as the time passes, the Dane army is back again, and this time they are coming from land. King Alfred, getting to know about this, feels that it will be a beginning of a great war, and they go out to meet the Dane army. King Alfred learns that Ubba's brother has fallen in Ireland, and he will be going there to avenge his brother's death. And he will not be joining the war from sea as of now. And this gives the Saxons an advantage. Meanwhile, Danes under Guthrum have captured a castle, and King Alfred's army surrounds the Danes. Danes, knowing that without Ubba's army it will be a difficult task to beat the Saxons, and thus, they call for a truce. And King Alfred, hoping that Ubba might not return, and Guthrum might accept Christianity, agrees for a truce. And King Alfred agrees to Guthrum's demand that he can return via sea, and can call 15 ships, and gives him 1 month to leave. And to ensure the truce, they exchange prisoners. King Alfred wants Uhtred to go in as a prisoner, and wants him to escape if he knows of Ubba's arrival, as then, the Danes will attack. King Alfred and Uhtred are always at odds, as Uhtred is not willing to accept Alfred's god, despite their differences, as well as knowing the risk. Uhtred goes in as a prisoner, and he meets Breda and Ragnar, and they want him to join the Danes. But Uhtred denies, as now, he is a lord, has a wife, and has pledged his loyalty to King Alfred. And as time passes, Ubba returns with the army, and all the prisoners are executed. But Uhtred is able to make his way out, with the help of his brother, and lights the beacon, informing King Alfred of Ubba's return. And with this, the truce is over. King Alfred splits his army, wherein he leads half of his army to go and face Guthrum, and the remaining under Otta go to face Ubba. Uhtred joins the camp of Otta, and they have taken a position on a hill, while Ubba's army waits at the shore. Saxons have limited supplies, and Uhtred wants to attack Ubba first, and comes up with a plan. Uhtred lets Otta know that he will destroy Ubba's ships, and while his men will be dealing with the fire, they will attack and eliminate his army. Otta agrees with the plan, and Uhtred sets the ships on fire. But before he could escape, Ubba sees him and challenges him to a one-on-one fight. But Uhtred prevails, and he is able to kill Ubba. And before Uhtred could be killed, Otta reaches with the army, and they have a decisive victory. But, in the battle, Otta is injured. Uhtred returns to see his wife and kid, whereas young Otta goes to join the king against Guthrum. And he lets him know about their victory against Ubba, but skips the part where it was Uhtred who helped them win and killed Ubba, with half of Guthrum's ships being destroyed by sea. It was an easy victory for King Alfred, and they returned victorious. And as Uhtred comes to Wessex, Father Beocca is surprised to see him. It is when Uhtred realizes that King Alfred doesn't know that he is responsible for winning against Ubba. And in rage, for not getting his share of appreciation, Uhtred confronts King Alfred. And in the process, he draws his sword, which is the crime to be punished by death. King's wife never liked Uhtred, and she pushes the king to punish Uhtred hard. Alfred knows Uhtred's value, but despises him for not believing in his god, and thus, for his actions, instead of executing him, he humiliates him with the punishment, alongside with his nephew Ethelwald. Despite doing so much for the king, Uhtred is not able to generate wealth for himself. It is when Leofric suggests that they should raid as Danes and earn wealth, and they, along with some other men, go to the neighboring kingdom of Cornwall to raid as Danes, and Ethelwald also joins them in their raids. But they are not able to find any wealth, as all the villages have already been looted. It is when a priest approaches them and lets them know that fellow Britons have taken the castle from the king, and he wants their help to take it back, and he will pay them for their service. Uhtred negotiates with the king for a right price, and the king asks his shadow queen to let him know what should be done, and she lets him know that he is the one, and the king agrees for the prize, and inform Uhtred that his wealth is hidden in the castle. But as they reach for the battle, Uhtred learns that it is not the Britons, but indeed Danes who have captured the castle. Uhtred talks with the Dane leader Skorpa, who informs him that there is no wealth in the castle, and that the king has been lying. So they decide to partner up and split the wealth after taking out the king. As they defeat the king and reach to his wealth, Skorpa double-crosses them and gets away with all the wealth in exchange for the queen's life. Uhtred wanted to go after him, but the queen lets them know that there is more wealth and shows it to them. And as they loot the treasure, a priest who survived is watching them. Uhtred is mesmerized by the queen's beauty and asks her to come with him. And on his way back, Uhtred gives the church a jewel-studded cross in exchange for them clearing off his debts. And they agree. Uhtred returns home, and his wife lets him know that the king wants to see him. In addition, if he wants to stay with the woman, he can go in the stables with her. And as Uhtred goes to see the king, he learns that he has been charged for killing fellow Christians, as well as monks. And it is none other than the priest who was watching them, putting all the allegations. But Uhtred denies all the charges. It is when they produce a second witness, and it is none other than Leofric. And as they accuse Uhtred of leading his men, Leofric intervenes and lets them know that all of them went on their own free will, and they are equally responsible, and a fair and a just punishment will be a fight to the death. And the king agrees. Leofric lets Uhtred know that if he didn't came forward, there were many other men who were ready to throw him under the bus, as young Otta was hell-bent on proving him guilty. And by this way, at least he will be able to provide Uhtred an honorable death. And as they fight, they are attacked by Danes. And as a result, the fight is stopped, and they try to escape. And in the process, they help a nun. They disguise themselves as Danes, and are able to make their way out, with a little help from Breda. And as they get out, they head towards the marshlands. And on their way, they save few more monks. And as fate would have it, it was indeed the king, with his family whom they saved. As King Alfred and Uhtred spend time together, Uhtred tells the king that if he doesn't fight back now, he will be another king in exile. Alfred regains his health with the help of Iseult's portions, but his son's health keeps on deteriorating. Iseult lets Uhtred know that she can save the life of King's son, but if she will do so somewhere, someone else kid will die. And Uhtred, knowing that if the king's son dies, he will lose all hope, and thus wants Iseult to go forward with it. They are finally able to convince the king, though the queen disagrees, but they go ahead with the process. And the king's son is finally saved. Alfred and Uhtred both know that in order to win, there cannot be multiple battles. Thus they want to have one single battle for victory. And in order to force Danes, for a single battle location, they take out ships of Scorpa, by luring his men in the marshlands. King Alfred sends out his priests to various elder men in Wessex, asking them to join him for a final battle against the Danes. And before they leave, Iseult wants to get rid of her gifts. And thus Uhtred and Iseult make out, and she gets to know that Uhtred's sister is still alive, and she tells Uhtred the same. As Uhtred returns to his home, he finds that his son has passed away. And his wife has joined the nuns. Uhtred goes to Otta, in order to ask him to join. He learns that young Otta has sided with the Danes. And as elder Otta gets to know this, he takes out his own son. And as they go for the final war, King Alfred's call for support was answered by various elder men and lords. And as both the armies fight it out, Scorpa goes back to their camp and kills Iseult. And in rage, Uhtred is able to break the shield wall and kill Scorpa. And they are victorious. And finally they are able to establish peace, with Saxon taking 2 of the Dane leaders as captive. And they are Ragnar and Breda. While Guthrum accepts Christianity and is baptized. And as the season ends, Alfred is established in Wessex. And Uhtred decides to go north to settle his blood feuds, and he is accompanied by the nun Hild and Halleck. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.